I watched Neon Genesis Evangelion recently, which is a premiere anime that people go to when they feel miserable, when they feel despair, when they feel like nobody's really looking out for them. It's a stellar piece of media with meaningful symbols and slow and steady pacing, and proposes an interesting prompt on the human condition, the nature of identity, purpose, and personal relationships. Who am I kidding? I don't get this. I found this completely unrelatable. I couldn't relate to Shinji's lack of confidence. I couldn't relate to his daddy issues. I couldn't relate to him. I don't get it. I don't get Neon Genesis Evangelion. I tried to read the Tumblr posts. I tried to watch the video essays. I just don't get it. And that's when I felt my true power just kick in. That the loser fanbase that idolizes Shinji Ikari, I wasn't meant to be one of those people. I was meant for greatness. So all the people that are upset, I do not care. Because I'm about to make the most controversial statement I've said on this channel. And you know what that is? It's that I love myself. See, if I was trying to relate it to more people, I'd probably say that I'm struggling with loving myself, because that seems like a common theme. But that's not the case here. I love myself. I really, really do. But that wasn't always the case. I was miseducated by the world into hating myself, into being bitter and angry, into being a loser. And you know what? I'm done with that. I'm done being a sucker. I'm a winner now, and I'm gonna teach you how to be a winner too. But in order to teach you how to be a winner, I'm gonna tell you how I was miseducated. You see, I grew up around people that were deep down afraid of something. My mother was worried all the time. My father was angry. Everyone around me was living a life full of fear in some shape or form. Fear of God, fear of judgment, fear of intimacy, fear of life. The girls I knew grew up scared of men, and the boys I knew grew up scared of themselves. That's why when they interacted with each other, it was always a mess. And it wasn't the awkward, cute little first love type of mess. It was a mess fueled by misogyny and misandry, bitterness and backstabbing. People that grew up hurt and confused, hurting others that were also hurt and confused, all the while thinking it was a normal way to act. Maybe that's why as a little boy being in prayer circles, I found it so boring, so eerie, so inhumane, because everyone that was praying either didn't want to be there or wanted to be free from the fear they had without actually having to address it. I found it pathetic, and so I did what any child would do at that point, and locked myself in a room with my computer. Through things like books, TV shows, and movies I had as a child, I was able to live a life of parasocial fantasy by myself. No reason to get your ass whipped if you keep to yourself in your little world. No more terrible breakups if you never get into a relationship. And finally, there is no reason to live life on your own, because you can just live it through fictional characters. The solitary life that is offered now isn't completely awful at all. Literally me characters, Wojaks, Shinji Ikari profile pictures, these are the characters that I and many other men modeled ourselves around, giving everybody that's bound to die alone a symbol to worship, a place in the world. These internet memes about horny posting or being thirsty rally up pathetic young men, fueling their degenerative behavior and their engineered autism in the guise of giving them community. You walk around with your hoodie up, you can't look people in the eyes anymore, your laughs sound pathetic, but that doesn't matter because you're validated by other losers that do the exact same thing. I saw this video recently on Twitter that pretty much makes my point.
Hi, sorry, I don't mean to bother you. I'm Jay.
Oh, hi, I'm Tamar.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
If you don't give me your number, I'm gonna take my own life.
As I watched this young woman's smile fade after he said that nonsense for internet points, I thought to myself, what are we doing? We're having men that are otherwise completely normal, completely fine. Actually, the way the girl responded, she might have even liked the look of him. Debase themselves to be a part of a tribe of other pathetic losers. There's a real thrill to being miserable. There's a real thrill to being down bad. There's a real thrill to being an incel, being blackpilled, being so committed to your ideology that you repel others. When people are disgusted or infuriated in what you're saying, you're not upset. You're overjoyed, ecstatic even that people are paying attention to you. It's the easiest type of attention to get because all you have to do is weep and cry. There's no winners here. There's no champions. There's no conquerors. It's just a bunch of losers that are feeding off the attention of other losers. And I'm at the center of that. There was a time where I consistently spewed rhetoric about misery, about despair, about affliction because it sells. Most of my fans can relate to me because of how I articulate weakness. I know how to articulate being a sucker. I know how to articulate anxiety. I've thrown words around like stoicism, nihilism, absurdism, while knowing practically nothing about it because it sells. But slowly I found myself identifying with this misery. The world started feeling darker and darker. The weight on my chest got heavier and heavier. The chip on my shoulder became bigger and bigger. And I started being a little bitch. When I saw a muscular guy at the gym, I didn't think, wow, he's incredibly jacked. No, I thought, well, his legs need some work. One of my girlfriends told me I love you, and I told her to calm down because that's just chemicals in your brain that are programmed from millions of years of evolution. And one of my other girlfriends told me she hates me, and I said, yeah, me too. I didn't realize how negative I was being until recently I had a conversation with this random Tanzanian guy, and mid-conversation I called myself a little bitch that needs to get his shit together, and he replied, whoa, my friend, why you call yourself a bitch, man? Don't call yourself bitch, my friend. I called myself a bitch, a coward, a fraud for so long that I didn't even realize that wasn't a normal thing to do until this lovely Tanzanian guy told me. I think the worst effect it had on me was my relationship with my 10 girlfriends. I was always afraid of fully committing to something because I was afraid that they would use me for dinner or entertainment, and if I actually fell for them, they'll leave me worse than I was before. I was so afraid that they'll leave strictly off scenarios in my head. I lost all of them from scenarios that didn't even happen. After telling myself stories that put me down for years and years, I started asking myself, why do I piss myself off? Why do I force myself to be angry all the time? Why must I hate everything and everyone and want to prove them all wrong? Why do I have to put all this weight on my shoulders? For what? Because it's easy. It's easy to paint myself as the underdog, as the guy that always loses, as a victim, as if the world is against me. It's easy to make myself relatable this way. And that's why I said if I was trying to relate it to more people, I'd say that I'm struggling with loving myself, because that seems like a common theme. But that's not the case here. I love myself. I really do. And I was gaslit into thinking otherwise. There's people in my DMs telling me they hate themselves, that my videos saved them. But truth be told, I can't relate to their struggles. I can't relate to these guys calling themselves short and ugly and that's why they don't get women. See, it's easy for me to write a sad video about how my dad raised me, but I'm looking in the mirror and I'm just so fucking exceptional that I can't even bring myself to lie about that. I'm chosen, motherfucker. I'm handsome, I'm charming. People love me. People love me. People love me. Deep down, the reason I was so afraid to be happy, to fulfill my destiny and say it with my chest for so long, is people like me, right? We're afraid of becoming happy because that means our character arcs will end. Every character in every story starts the story unfinished, starts the story unfulfilled, even depressed. And in an effort to identify with these characters, we put ourselves through that sadness because it means that our stories are continuing. Because once you become happy, your story will end. But I don't think that's the case. I think with our obsession with misery and depression, people are stunning themselves from true development. Because once I realized that I don't need to be miserable, I don't need to be a sucker, that I am chosen, that I am destined, that's when my character arc starts. That's when I learn the real lessons. That's when my story finally begins. That's when I finally set out to achieve my dream of getting 10,000 girlfriends.